Hey there, I am reading the Alpha Star paper. Do you know the paper?
Yes, I'm familiar with the Alpha Star paper. How can I help with it?
Cool. Just hang out. I'm going to read it. If I have questions or anything, I will ask you. Hi, I'm Chris. This is The Great Indoors. I've been gone for a while. Don't ask. It's a long story. But I'm back. Hopefully for good. We'll see. I don't know. I think I feel a little bit nervous. I haven't done this in a while. Today I want to talk about getting smarter. And in particular, I want to talk about reading. Now, I've never really been much of a reader. I love learning. I've definitely developed a curiosity in my old age. And in particular, a couple years ago, I got very, very curious about AI. And I learned it deeply. I spent the last 2 years learning everything I could about it. I made some videos on it in the past. You should go check them out. They're probably a little bit old now, but anyway. When you learn a lot about artificial intelligence, it leads to questions that are necessarily related. Like, what is intelligence really? Like this thing that we're trying to replicate in computers. Everybody seems to have a different definition of it. So what is it? How does it work? And those questions lead to questions like, well, then how does the brain work? How did it grow? How did it develop? How close are AI models to how the brain works? When you learn about the brain, then you start learning about how the body works. How does the endocrine system fit into all that? The nervous system. And then those types of questions tend to lead up yet more questions. How did we evolve to become this way? What does evolution look like throughout the years? How did it get started? How did life get started? What is reality in the first place? How do the natural laws of the universe work, and how do they fit into all of this? I've been reading really deeply on all of these things the last couple of years. You can kind of see some of the books I have in the background. And in the process of doing all of this, I realized that I don't have very good reading habits. It's one of those things that I think take practice. It takes work to get good at it. And I don't have the answers. I'm still getting used to it. But one thing that I've discovered that has been really, really useful to me is leveraging AI to help me read better. And this is something anyone can do, and everyone should be doing. So if you're someone who likes to read, or maybe would like to read, but you don't have time, or there's that book you're thinking about reading, but it's kind of a little bit heavy, I want to show you some tricks that I've learned that I think will help you. So something that I have been learning more about lately is something called Alpha Star. It's an AI system that was developed by Google about 6 years ago. And they wrote a paper on it. And Alpha Star is really cool because it's an AI system that can play StarCraft. It's this sci-fi video game that allows you to play different characters and build bases, and you have your little dudes running around, and you can go and you play against other players, and they have their own team, and you kind of attack each other's bases, and last man standing wins, that sort of thing. Well, they taught an AI system to play this game, and it got as good as anybody else who plays StarCraft. I think it got to Grandmaster level in StarCraft tournaments. Is that right? Am I getting that correct? Yeah. Grandmaster level under professionally approved conditions. So all they did was give it some basic data on how to play the game. They let it play against versions of itself and other human players, and it got better. It got so good it could beat most of the other StarCraft players. And why is that important? Because they took the techniques they learned from that and then made AlphaFold. And if you don't know what AlphaFold is, that's definitely worth checking out. AlphaFold allowed them to figure out how proteins fold from amino acids. It's an important thing to know about if you're going to make pharmaceutical drugs that are way better than what we have now. And they were able to predict every protein we know about. And they made it available to everybody. So that's set to revolutionize drug discovery in the pharmaceutical industry. So I wanted to learn more about it. AlphaStar in particular, because I've always been interested in video games. It's what got me into computer science in the first place. But it's a really complicated paper. And I'm not a machine learning expert. I know a little bit, but not a lot. But I have a secret weapon. AI. Alright, so let me get my secret weapon out. There it is. Okay, so here's the workflow. So this is ChatGPT. I happen to be working on a little MacBook right here, and they created a ChatGPT app for the Mac. They also have one for Windows. You can get it from the Windows Store, or you can just use it directly from your browser. Or if you're not a monster like me and you don't read books and papers and things like that sitting in front of your computer, where did it go? I got one around here somewhere. They have a phone app. You can download it from the App Store, iOS or Android, I think. So you can do this from anywhere when you're reading. Well, ChatGPT has what they call voice mode. So you just turn on voice mode and then you can have a conversation with it, just as you would with anyone else. And while that's not necessarily new with AI programs, one really great thing that they did was they made it so that you could sit there in silence and it won't bother you. You could just let it run, and then whenever you have a question, you can ask it the question. You can imagine how useful this is when you're reading a paper. So I can just sit there reading my book or a preprint or whatever it is that I'm reading, and anytime I come across a term that I don't know or a concept I'm not familiar with, I can simply ask it, hey, how do you define this word? What is this about? Can you explain this to me? And I can have a conversation about it right then and there as soon as I encounter that term. I don't have to stop and go research. I can just ask and I get a good answer. And if I want to know a little bit more, I can drill down into that, or maybe even explore related concepts. And when I feel I have a good enough understanding, I keep reading. And that has done amazing things for my ability to read and comprehend just about anything. So that was it. That's really all this video wanted to tell you about. So the rest of it is going to be me using this in practice, and you can check that out if you want. Otherwise, I highly recommend taking a look at this and using it in your reading efforts. Keep reading, keep learning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Okay, so this is the paper. This is about where I was leaving off, so I am going to turn this on. Hey there, I am reading the AlphaStar paper called Grandmaster Level in StarCraft 2 using Multi-Agent Reinforcement Learning. Do you know the paper?
Yes, I'm familiar with the AlphaStar paper. It discusses how DeepMind's AI achieved Grandmaster level performance in StarCraft 2 using multi-agent reinforcement learning. How can I help with it?
Cool. Just hang out. I'm going to read it. If I have questions or anything, I will ask you.
Sounds good. Feel free to ask anytime.
Okay, so in the learning algorithm section, I can see that they've defined the policy as pi theta. Oh, okay, and it looks like theta are the parameters of the game, and they're trying to determine a sub t. I'm assuming that's like an action that they want to perform at some time t, given S sub t is, I'm guessing that's the state of the game, and some term Z, but I don't know what that is. Do you know what the policy looks like?
In reinforcement learning, the policy pi theta represents a strategy defined by parameters theta. The action AT is indeed the action taken at time t, and ST is the state of the game at time t. The term ZT can refer to additional information or latent variables that influence the policy. So the policy pi theta AT or ST-ZT essentially describes the probability of taking an action AT given the state ST and possibly other variables ZT. Is there a particular part of this you'd like to delve into more?
Okay, so Z is just some catch-all for information that they want to add to this?
Yes, exactly. ZT acts as a catch-all for any additional information that might influence the decision-making process of the policy. It could include latent variables, context, or any other relevant data that the model considers important for generating an action. This makes the policy more flexible and capable of adapting to complex scenarios. If you have specific questions about how this applies in the context of AlphaStar, feel free to ask.
What do you know what the term applies to in the context of AlphaStar?
In AlphaStar, ZT generally represents latent information that isn't explicitly part of the observable game state ST, but still influences the agent's decisions. This could include elements like inferred information about the opponent's strategy, hidden game mechanics, or any other background knowledge that the model uses to enhance its predictions and actions. This incorporation of latent variables helps AlphaStar make more informed and strategic decisions. Does that clarify things?
Oh, wait, so to integrate spatial and non-spatial information, they introduce scatter connections. So is the spatial information S sub t and then the non-spatial information Z?
Yes. ST typically represents the spatial information, such as the game state in terms of map positions and unit locations. The non-spatial information, often represented by ZT, includes things like game statistics, player resources, or other abstract data. Scatter connections are used to merge these spatial and non-spatial features effectively, allowing the model to leverage both types of information to make more comprehensive decisions.